Well, it's always disappointing when you lose a big game, and we haven't lost many games, so it's double disappointing. But if they're looking at the film and watching it, we deserve what we got. We did not play as well. They played better than us. There was a couple 4-minute stretches in that game, one before halftime and one near the end that actually one at the beginning of the second half and went our way, and then one at the end went back their way. So I didn't feel that we played our best. I think they had something to do with it. But we had a good film session on Saturday, went over all the things. I'm pleased with where we are. Still got a game to play for. Same time last year, we were in similar position in a lot of ways, and but we have so many games to play, including a big game on Wednesday. First thing you're going to do is look at the record, and they're 3-8 or whatever they are. But Nico is a coach that I've known. Dave Thorson's a friend of mine on the staff that I recruited kids from and got Alan Anderson from. He's been there forever. This is a very well-coached team. He did a tremendous job at Colorado State. He has some new players, one or two from Colorado State, but they've been up in just about every game they've played. They had Wisconsin down 20. They had Nebraska down at halftime. They had Ohio State down and Illinois down, and a couple of those games were on the road. They haven't finished maybe quite as strong because number of players they have. They lost to Wisconsin without what I consider one of their best players in Cade Tyson. He missed the entire game, and he was their leading scorer. They have good guard play, and Tyson, Asuma, who really played well at the end of the year last year, and Reynolds, who is a linebacker playing guard. Tough kid, love the way he plays, along with the Colorado State transfer who he's been part of, and that's Cracker Johnson, who is another, he's not a linebacker, he's a defensive tackle who is tougher than nails. I think it's one of the tougher teams in the league. I think they lack depth, or they'd probably be 8-3 instead of 3-8. Concerned because it's always a tough place to play, and I think we're going to have to play really well to win on the road. Even though their record's 3-8, I don't think their record's indicative of how they've played. Probably 75-85% of the games are the time in a game that they've lost. Questions?
Hey, Tom, after the game, you talked about changes being made to the lineup and promising that. I was wondering if you could.
Yeah, I'm tinkering with it. I will tell you that. But I've been tinkering with it for quite a while, and I've moved some guys around. Whether I actually do it or not, we'll find out. But there's a good chance there's going to be a change or two. So that's just part of the deal. It's you got to go with who's playing the best and who's consistently playing the best, and I think I've been well documented on the issues that I've had, and we'll see what happens.
Tom, you mentioned a couple of good film sessions. I wonder what the film revealed when you went through it.
We didn't rebound the ball as well. And if you remember, they had 2 times when they got 3 and 4 rebounds, offensive rebounds in a row. One ended up in a basket, and one ended up in a 3. I mean, that's 5 points. I mean, that's when the game is a 3-point game with 3 minutes left, those become big parts of the game. And I think. Their point guard made 2 big shots. He made a big 3, and then he made one in the lane. That was a tough, well-defended. So they made some shots, but I felt like we started out slow. We looked a little nervous for whatever reason. We bounced back and played pretty well to the 4-minute mark, and then we just finished on, maybe we let a couple calls go one way or another, and it seemed like we just went downhill. They scored like 12 points in a couple minutes. So that was disappointing. And we looked at the start of the second half. Why was it different? I thought there was more ball movement. I thought we did a little better job on the post. We didn't do a very good job on the post. Mara had his own way the first 10 possessions, it seemed like. And so we did a little better job digging down and doing some things there. And made a hell of a run, and yet didn't take care of the things that we needed to take care of late. So, as I said, they outplayed us, deserved to win the game, but there were some positives I got out of it. The comeback was positive. It was a very talented team, a very big team. Rebounds, it ended up 36-36. The turnovers, they turn it over more than most teams do, but turnovers has been a problem for us. And some of those turnovers we had in that game were touchdowns, as you know. There were dunks on the other end, and you can't give up that to a good team, and we did.
Two questions for you to start. I'm wondering, with Jordan starting in the second half, it felt like after that initial run when you guys took the lead after that maybe there wasn't that haymaker off the bench that it seems like he's provided at times, and I wonder how you sort of weigh that in decision-making.
That's a pretty good question, and that's what coaches do. You know, that's why I never started Morris Peterson. Sometimes you do need somebody coming off the bench, and that's what weighs into how do you want to start. You know, if we didn't get off to a bad start, maybe we would. And that's not all on one player, and it's not all on Jordan one way or Jordan the other. We started in the second half because we felt like he played with the most energy. I didn't ask for who played the best. I asked for who plays with the most energy. The sense of urgency is a term I use a lot. But that is an issue when you decide to bring one guy. You know, it happened last year with Jace and Trey and everything. So those are the things that I'm weighing on decisions I make, because it's not just who starts the game, it's who comes off the bench. Who finishes the game is probably more important than who starts the game most times. And that's what I'm juggling. Second question.
Second question, I don't know if you've seen it, but about a couple hours ago, Dusty May had some pretty serious criticisms of Jeremy Fears. He said there were a number of dangerous plays in the game, and I'm wondering what your response is to that, and sort of what you saw in that game and how Jeremy
I'm not
plays.
going to get into that. I have no idea, but I do know that I thought there were a couple plays the other way too, like jumping into a guy and getting a foul when it was a complete joke. This is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. And you know what? Michigan's over. I'm moving on to Minnesota. No insult to you. I don't care what Dusty says. I don't care what they say. I don't care. There were some things Jeremy did. I addressed on him. But him and their point guard were going at it pretty good. That's what happens in games like this. So if anybody did anything dirty, tell them to call me, and I would be more than happy to address it. If it was physical play, that's the way that game's always going to be.
So I'm wondering about the elevation of Jeremy's play, though, and his scoring.
It's kind of which eye do you look
Yeah.
through? You know, do you look through one or the other?
Yeah. He's had a big run in terms of scoring. I guess when you're a point guard in your system, is that a good or a bad thing when you want to try and get everybody else involved? I mean, you've had guys both directions.
It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. I talked to him about it today. I mean, you know, when he's taking 11, 12 shots, it's a good thing. When you're taking 20 shots, it's a bad thing. But that's not always his fault either. Some of that falls on other guys and how they're playing. What he has done a good job of is, you know, when you score 29 points and still get 9 or 10 assists, that's saying you're doing a good job. I've been pleased with Jeremy's play. I think he's doing a better job in a lot of areas. And that's why, you know, some other guys got to lead up. I mean, he's showing where he's gotten rid of the ball. He's passed the ball. He's made some things happen for other players. But he's averaging 8 or 9 assists a game, which is, I think, second in the country. It's right up there. So, you know, he's... do I want him taking 20 shots? No. Do I want him taking 10 or 11 shots? Yes. And he's done a good job getting the hole and a good job getting fouled. And but keeping other people involved is true. If he had 2 assists, I'd agree with that statement. When you get 9, 10, 8, then I think he's doing both things, and as long as he keeps playing defense, we're trying to find the happy medium in there. There's no question about it.
Coach, on Friday you talked a little bit about limiting the turnovers committed by your big men. What goes into that, and how can you guys get better moving forward?
Well, I didn't do a very good job, did I? But I don't play. But we had some problems again turning the ball over early in the game. I think we had 10 in the first 16 minutes. And what are we doing about it? We're talking about it. Nobody tries to turn the ball over on purpose. I think once in a while guys try to do a little more than they should be doing, but I didn't even see that some. I just saw some turnovers that you just can't make. And if you make them, you don't win. And if you do win, it's because you did some other things very, very well. And when you play the best teams, which Michigan is one of the best teams, you can't make those mistakes. So we had 13 and they had 12, or we had 14, they had 13. It's not just the turnover, it's the turnovers for touchdowns, as they say in football.
Tom, Cam Ward obviously had a great start to the very beginning of the season against opponent with some length and all that, and then obviously had the wrist injury that derailed things. How do you, in this last matchup, a lot of big guys, right? Tough matchup. I'm just wondering how you get the most out of his freshman year, the last month of Big Ten play here, based on where he is right now.
I think it's very critical. I think Cam Ward is one of the more critical guys we have right now. The injury was tough because it was on his right hand, which created things for rebounding, for dribbling the ball, for catching the ball, for shooting the ball. And that's an area he had to improve on anyway, was his shooting, but his rebounding, his defense. And I think sometimes when that happens, it affects everything. But I think Cam Ward, we're playing our bigs too many minutes right now. We have to get back where we're strength in numbers, and Cam Ward's a guy that I think can really help us. He can guard a variety of different people. He can score points. He's a phenomenal rebounder. And so that's one of the areas now. He's been a little sick also. No excuse sick, just reality sick like everybody else is getting. And did practice yesterday, but hopefully today he's better. And we're going to need him. I do agree with you. He was playing so good early. Different, people didn't know what he could do, what he couldn't do. Scouting reports are different early. But it wasn't like it was against average teams early, like sometimes you go through. He played against some of the best, might have had his best game against one of the best teams in Arkansas. So we're looking to get Cam Ward back. It's nothing that he hasn't done more than just the situation that was presented, and it set him back a little bit. We got to get him back.
Tom, some of the way you described Minnesota a little bit ago could have applied to Rutgers in terms of sort of being more threatening than their record. So when you've gone on the road a week ago and struggled with a team like that can punch up, is there some relevant lessons to draw on there when you're going on the road again against a team with a record?
Yeah, I think we can talk about it, but I think Minnesota's a different team. I really like what Rutgers has done. They play hard, but they're so young and everything. But Minnesota has, I think the only team that blew them out was Purdue. Of the Big Ten teams, I think most of those games they were ahead at halftime, and a lot of them they were ahead throughout part of the second half. And so I think our players now, after watching some film, definitely our coaches know they're really good. And I would say this, there's different coaches that come into the league, and I really believe that he has done a phenomenal job. Nico runs it's a very movement-oriented offense, and he's just got some guys that fit into that system, and they do it very well. They set screens. They play as hard as anybody. So I think, we're going to have our hands full, as most teams are that go there. And I think they got down yesterday by 14 or 15, came back and lost at the end. So every game but one, I think they've been in.
Wanted to ask you about Jackson, just where the concern level is. It's been a couple weeks since he was playing at such an elite level and has dipped a little bit. I'm wondering what you've kind of seen in his game in that time. And you had mentioned, too, about the minutes, just how much is fatigue versus maybe just
I told you he was sick there for a couple days, and then he was in foul trouble a couple times, and then Coop was in foul trouble, and he played almost 37 minutes against Michigan, and that was asking way too much from our standpoint. A couple of those threes, he hit one late, but they were right on, just short. Number one, we got to get his minutes back to where they belong. Number two, we got to get the ball to him on the block more. But people take away things too. You know, when a guy's having a lot of success, you go from the third page of the scouting report to the first page, and I think that sometimes gets frustrating for people. So he's got to learn how to deal with that. We've got to learn how to move him around a little bit more. And there's no question we need Jackson. But as I look at everything, you know, it's hard to believe because we always question things offensively, and we've been one of the better teams defensively, and yet we're scoring 76 points a game in a league, which probably is a high in a lot of years. You know, I think our biggest problem is we're turning the damn ball over too much. And if we can be one of the best defensive teams in the country and we're turning the ball over and people are getting some layups on us, you eliminate those, your defense gets even better. You eliminate those, and instead of, we have, you know, we're more of a gap defensive team, so, which most teams are getting to be now, but we don't turn people over a lot. And so it's not only the turnovers we have, but it's the turnovers they don't have. So where some of the better teams in the country right now are a plus 4, 5, and 6, we're like a -2 or something. And so that means we're getting less possessions, and we're still shooting we're shooting 48 something in the league, I think. Those numbers. What's that? Yeah, well, we out-rebounded Rutgers by a lot, and, you know, I mean, rebounding helps, it helps, but turnovers are depressing. Turnovers take away shot opportunities. Turnovers our offensive rebound has been good, not great. Our defensive rebound has been great, but I really believe the turnovers, I mean, I came to my staff's Saturday morning in a meeting we had, and that's the first thing I just said. Now, we didn't have any more or less than Michigan, but the ones we had led to some things, and the ones we've had other times, you know, we're getting 58 shots, 56 shots instead of 63 shots, 64 shots. And if you get 5 more shots a game because the differential is 5 or 6, chances are you're going to hit 1 3. Chances are you're going to get fouled. Chances are you get 1 offensive rebound out of the 6. And so it really makes a big difference. So I love that the Super Bowl's this week because I say it every year to you guys. I say it to my team. I say it to everybody. Happened last weekend. Those who wins the turnover battles usually wins the game. And I think because it's normal to have more turnovers in basketball, we don't look at it the same way. Since I like football better, I do look at it the same way. And I really believe that has been, which doesn't sadden me, it ticks me off because I think that looks undisciplined and that falls on me, that we are not a great turnover team, reduced turnovers. And you know, we got to be pretty good at it at the end of last year, and kind of going the wrong way here. Because, you know, you think about it, we're up to, I went through the 3 losses. We're up 2 or 3 against Nebraska, and we lose by 2. We had 21 turnovers and they had 8 on the road. Somewhere there's a bad lining. I mean, they don't press you, and somewhere there's a silver lining in that. In other words, if I get the damn thing straightened out, I think we'll be even a better basketball team.
Also wanted to ask you about Jackson. I mean, he's starting to take more and more threes. It feels like I think he had 7 during the Michigan game. Obviously, he's been making a lot of them this season as well. But would you like to see him go back down to the post, use that footwork a lot more?
That was one of the things we talked about to him. You know, the problem is everybody was doubling him, and he panicked on that a little bit. But if they're doubling him, that's okay. There's going to be openings for some other people. And I don't think we maybe done a good job of that, because he needs the ball in the block, because he's valuable down there, because he still can pass the ball. He just gets a little anxious with it, and that's, I think, caused some of the turnovers too.
I'm wondering, a lot of the matchups we haven't been able to see much of Jesse, just from a size standpoint, but the minutes he was able to get in the Michigan game, it seemed like he had some pretty good contributions.
Yeah.
Where do you see his growth in this season and what he performed in that game?
Jesse played very well in the first half of that game, not quite as well in the second, but you know, we love Jesse. We think Jesse's going to get better and better and better. He just needs time. You know, he needs reps and he needs time. And certain lineups, it's harder to do that. And in bigger lineups, it's easier. You know, Minnesota comes with a very small lineup, as Rutgers did, you know. And so sometimes that's what limits, because of his foot speed, it's not great. So getting better, but that's the problem there. Sometimes it's what we got, and but he can shoot the ball. He got great hands. He can rebound the ball. I'm hoping Jesse gets more and more time. He's going to have to get more and more time. We cannot play. We got to get back to the high 20s with our 2 bigs, and not burn them out like maybe we have a little bit.
Explain to a non-basketball junkie, which may or may not be me, how you would cut down on turnovers.
Yeah, you know, well, I'll tell you what we did yesterday. Sounds trite and ridiculous, but every turnover we ran. I mean, usually you keep track and maybe you run at the end. We ran at that point. There got to be a sense of urgency. I've got to try something different. You know, is that punishment? Yes, it is. I don't think we've had many turnovers. I think the most disappointing part, I don't think we've had a lot of turnovers forced by the defense. I think we've had a lot of unforced turnovers forced by ourselves, and that's harder to stomach. You know, we've done some things that I don't know why we're doing them, but part of that is too you got 4 guys that are playing a lot, and then you got new guys that you're working in, and you know, a lot of these teams that have new guys are turning the ball over more, and you know, some of the teams that don't have are turning over less. It's getting used to playing with other people is part of the problem. But
I know the Michigan game is over. For your players, is the next one after a rival game tough to play because they put so much emotional investment into it? In other words, you have to remind them that this game is as big as the last one.
yeah, you know, you're so right. I mean, if you would have won that game and lost this game, your record's the same. And but we do talk to our players about that a lot. The advantage of playing in a league where there's so many good teams, and is every day, you know, is a new day. I mean, you just almost got beat, and so did a lot of other teams almost get beat by Rutgers out there. That's one of the bottom. Penn State took Michigan and Michigan State to the wire at Penn State, and I think they're last in the league, or they were yesterday. That was their first win. So it kind of tells you just how difficult it is to win. There's good coaches. Mike Rhodes is, I think, a great coach, you know. It depends when you get them. It depends on injuries that teams had or having. It depends on your health of your team. There's a lot of factors now that are a little different. The travel out west for the West Coast teams, the travel east, you know, how they handle that. There's so many different factors, but I don't think our team, I I didn't think we put enough into that game when I watched us play at the first 6-8 minutes of the game, you know. So we learned from that too. We did not look like a team that was playing at home, you know, the way we should be. So that too should fall on the coach, and it did, and I addressed it.
Yeah, not to go back to something you didn't want to get into, but there was a noticeably short handshake between you and Dusty that's been brought up to me a lot. Did you notice that? Was there anything to that?
You guys, no. I mean, some guys I talk to, I have no interest in talking to my rival. You know, some guys I don't. I mean, it was not it was a handshake. You know, walk by. It was a handshake. You know, it was probably no different than the one last year, if you really got right down to it. So, geez, they're 20-1 or whatever they are, and we're 19-3, whatever we are. There should be a lot bigger things to get into. Is worried about the god darn handshake. So sorry, but you guys got to have something that's controversial. So, let's see, what could I make controversial? I'm surprised nobody brought up the timeout.
I think he gave an explanation for that. He was trying to avoid his players doing anything.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good explanation.
The other question I had was just about Cooper gets in foul trouble in that first half. And, you know, obviously it's, in a game like that, dangerous to get him with the third foul before the break. And I'm just wondering, do you ever get tempted in a situation like that with a guy like him?
I do. And tell all your people that write in, they want to coach the team, they can coach the team, including you. Now, that is a philosophy that coaches have. You do it one way or another. You know, but I just want you to know, when you've been here 30 years, you know, and you've had different writers and different fans, and I have played guys with two and gotten their third. And you know what the same writers and the same fans said? Why in the hell would you do that? So, if I'm a little testy on it, you guys, I invite you to practice once a week. 3/4 of you come for like 20 minutes. I invite you for the whole frickin' practice. Come on and watch. You get an idea on why he plays some guys. Well, that is his fault then. Here, let me make this clear. When I open it up for media, on media day, you can come in time to see me brush my teeth before I come down to practice, if you'd like to. If Max says something's different, it's my team. That's the way it is. Normally, he says, what time should I have him come? Do I say any time? Whenever. And then he says, well, what time will you be done? And I said, 5 o'clock, 5:15, whatever I say. He says, well, then I'll tell him 4:30. You know why? Because most of you don't want to come up and sit through the whole thing. And if you do, you're up there talking and gaggling and everything else. You're not watching to see what's going on. So don't kid yourselves. So I'm not mad about it. But everybody got this now. You got this. You're the head of this whole thing. Media day is once a week. Is today media day? 2:45, brush my teeth, grab my whistle, watch through the window, go down. Want to be there for the whole thing? You want to be there for some of it? And by the way, just to let you know that, just like my locker room being open, 3/4 of the country doesn't have either one of those things. Okay. So maybe we should look at what are the positives instead of what are the negatives. And to me, whether I pick and choose, I mean, you're playing Michigan. Yes, the thing got out of hand. When did it get out of hand? 4 minutes left. It was like a 5-point game, I think. I think it was, and then it escalated. I'm going to put him in there with 3 minutes left. When they got all these big guys, I figured I could do what I did. Maybe one of those people that call you and send in all their stuff, or when you're sitting home talking to your wife, you should say, wow, you know, maybe that was right, because the second half they came out and made a hell of a run.
Well, I was just asking a question. Last night at the women's game, the coach of Michigan took a different philosophy, and they paid for it with one player with a third foul and not for the other, and she said it was a huge risk. And I'm just wondering what's going through.
but I say this all the time to you guys. That is my philosophy that I don't like to. I played Jeremy with 2 fouls out in, where was the last time he had 2 fouls in the recent game? Was it Rutgers? Okay, I put him back in with 2 fouls, you know. I mean, you do it, it depends on the situation. To be very honest with you, it depends on the refs. It really does. I mean, if I think a guy's out there calling anything, I'm not taking the same chance. If I think there's a guy out there that I know the good refs say that's one of their better players, he's got 2 fouls, am I going to call the game differently? No. But am I going to 50-50 call? Am I going to let, I think they do. I think those are great refs because you write, I coach, the fans watch to see the best players in the game. So I chose and I choose in that situation that I can't get away from the post guys. You can get away with the guards sometimes, but hard to get away with the post guys. So tell your writers, tell your fans that one of Izzo's negatives, he's probably not going to play a guy with 2 fouls in the first half if the game is under control. Now, if it would have got out of control at the 10-minute mark and it would have gone on, would I have? Probably. But it happened so quickly, I just said, I'm not going to screw this up now. And by the way, I didn't think Coop was the defining factor in us being good or bad. And so that had another thing to do with it. Anything else? If you think I'm testing, I'm not. I'm really not. If you think I'm upset about the loss, I'm really not. I accept things way more than I used to. But I think there were a lot of things to question in that game. I think there were some question mark calls. I think there were some question mark things that went both ways. I think that I'm a big fan of the one-time challenge. The length of time it takes, I'm beginning to not be a fan. It changes everything. I mean, that was like a 2.5-hour game. I mean, you know, and then every time you want something, you can question, you can challenge. Sometimes you challenge, it costs you a timeout. Sometimes you can challenge, and there's nothing there. There is no timeout against you because they have the ability to do that. On the one play that I'm talking about where a guy jumped into us, I think that was a 100% wrong call, but they can't change the call. So I don't know. Sometimes you can change the calls that these things are. Sometimes you can't. I don't know what they are, but those things, remember this, whether I hug and kiss Dusty or he hugs and kisses me, okay, we got beat by a better team. They played better. They were better. They have been better. We got beat by a better team. We knew we had to play our best game. We didn't do that. We showed at times where we can play with anybody. We didn't do that on a consistent basis, and the better team won. Simple, not for flowers for them, not for anything to save me. I said it after the game. I say it now. But every time something is questioned, I just want to make sure you know. You weren't probably born yet. Barely. People questioned when I did it and it cost me. Because people question, there is no right answer. There's one right answer. You know what it is? Win. Thank you. If you win walking backwards, that was the right thing to do. If you have a hard practice the night before a game and you win, that was the right thing. If you had a hard practice and you lost, why is he beating the hell out of his players before practice? I mean, people are certifiably insane that never have gone through this. And so, yeah, it bothers me, some of these questions, because I think I've been transparent enough and honest enough with you guys more than any coach you all deal with. I've been honest about 99% of the thing. Like, that is a dumb question, okay? You know why it's a dumb question? I say I might change the lineup. I'm going to tell somebody that the day before a game? Well, yeah.
not expect you to. I'm not.
Well, then why'd you ask?
Well, because you said it after the game.
Okay.
I asked if you said it's those.
Okay, so here's the thing. I might change my lineup every day. Okay? I will never tell you the day before a game. Does that help you? Okay, that's fair.
I mean, I'm not expecting a scouting report to be put up there. I'm just asking the question, that's all. Maybe you felt like saying, I'm going to start Jackson at point guard or something like that. I don't know.
Now, see, you know why I wouldn't do that? Because I'm not you. I don't do that. I don't do that stuff. I don't try to con anybody. I try to be as honest as I can be.
I'm not trying to con you.
Well, if you want me to put Jackson at the point, you're either conning me or you're certifiably insane. Which one is it?
I was just making a joke like you were making.
But I wasn't making a joke. I said I was going to play. I said I was going to look at my lineup. And I think because I've been honest with you guys, it wouldn't take Einstein to figure out that I'm not going to play Jackson at the point. But, you know, you sit in front of these guys, so you guys might question some things there. You know, the sad part is I get along with all you guys, but I'm not a punching bag either. All right? And it'll be an interesting game. But I told you this, the meat of our schedule is coming up, and the meat of a lot of team schedules are coming up. That's done on purpose. You know, best games are usually set for the end of the year. Why do you think Duke plays Carolina at the end of the first and the end of the last? It's the way it works. It's the way it works. It's called television. It doesn't bother me. I even agree with them. So I'm not mad about it, but I'm just telling you that the harder schedules go. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, because you mentioned about this, the difficulty of the schedule ramping up for everyone. Do you, usually at this time of year, we ask you how many losses you think will win the Big Ten. Do you have a gauge on that, even now that it's bigger and the difference in schedule?
You know, the only reason I don't, number one, there's a couple of issues here. There's 3 or 4 teams with 1 and 2 losses, or 4 or 5 teams. 4 teams. And Purdue's not one of those. And they're one of the best teams. So I don't know who they played. Like I'll give you an example. I was watching a game last night, I think Washington and, was it the day before, Washington and Northwestern. And they showed Washington's schedule. I mean, they played every great team early, you know? So now they say, wow, they've got a hell of a break in the schedule. So I don't know that with everybody, but there is such a difference. This is where those same people that call you, the rules have changed. The rules recruiting have changed. The rules with conferences have changed. So now when you play 3 teams once, our women play 1 team once. I mean twice. And we play 3 teams twice. But somebody else might play different teams. They might play them on the road and not at home. They might play them at home and not on the road. So there are a lot of things that change that I can't give you as good or honest of an answer. I would guess because of the number of teams that are right up there right now. Last year I said it'd probably take 4 to win it. It took 3. And it happened in a weird way. I don't think anybody thought that some of those other teams would have 5 and 6 losses. I think 3 or 4 losses still could take to win the league, but I don't know Michigan's schedule. I don't know Illinois' schedule. I don't know what Nebraska, you know, somebody once told me they had the best schedule coming up. I really don't know that. Now, if you guys wanted to do something when you're at my practice instead of watching practice, you guys should go through that and figure it out. That would be something good for you guys to do. Readers would be excited about that instead of worried about whether I hugged and kissed or just gave, wasn't a blow-by handshake, it was just a handshake and walk by. I don't think nothing of it. I thought nothing of it last year. So, does that make sense? Not really. You mad at me? Make sense? Does it make sense, though? Why have none of you guys come up with, that would be a great thing to do. Yeah, but you can do more than eyeball it, because it ain't going to change. The only thing that'll change is somebody has injuries.
Purdue's going to determine who's going to play split with some teams. Whoever doesn't have Purdue, I feel like that's my eye.
Purdue, so they have a good,
I think they still have Nebraska. They might have Illinois. I think they have
no, Illinois already played there and beat them. But Purdue has us and Michigan at home and Nebraska. And who do they play twice? But I wouldn't count Purdue out either. 3 losses, they got a good team, you know. I mean, they're veteran guys that, you know, I wouldn't count Purdue out anything. So that's what I said. They're the.
Purdue has Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana, Wisconsin, all at home.
I mean, you mentioned last year, 3 won it, but 5 would have won it, because I think the next team back was in 6. So.
Yeah. I don't think that'll happen this year. I don't think there'll be that much separation unless Michigan or Illinois can run the table. I don't, you know, and maybe they can. But that would be a hell of a media thing instead of worrying about whether I'm playing guys with 2 or not. I mean, that to me is the biggest thing in sports right now in all these conferences. Is the teams don't determine the championships as much as the schedule does. I mean, I've said that since we blew up our conferences, and that's in all conferences. And so, to me, that would be something. Man, you want to get clicks, put that up there, and people will be, oh yeah, well, you only play this team, you play that. That would be fun. You guys could have a field day with that. Then you wouldn't worry about any of these other minute things.
You said something last year, I think, about when teams go through the stretch where they're struggling a little bit, like Purdue just lost 3 in a row. They go
Yeah, you know, but man, I mean, did anybody in this room think we were going to go through the schedule without? I mean, I sure as hell didn't. So, and I know more than you know, I think. But I think everybody has some of those, unless you have a phenomenal year. I mean, last year we lose at USC, wasn't one of the top teams. At UCLA, in between team, and then we come home, and Oregon hadn't been playing good, and we were 15 down at halftime. And then shortly after that, didn't we lose to Indiana at home? And so we lost 3 out of 4, and could have lost 4 out of 4. You know, so I mean, some of that, you know, like that might not even have been the schedule. Except maybe we didn't, as a staff, do a good job preparing our guys for the trip out west. And that was the only reason. You know, it wasn't the best teams out there. It was, we didn't play very good. We played pretty good against UCLA. We just lose, you know. But then we come home and, you know, yeah, we had a couple guys out that game. I think we had Booker and Jeremy out, and you know, but Chase has a hell of a game. But hey, we were losing that game, you know. So I don't know, you know. I mean, nobody thought Michigan would lose at home to Wisconsin. Nobody thought that Michigan or Michigan State would go to Penn State and almost lose, you know. I mean, it's hard, guys, to go 20 games at that elite level. That is hard. And right now, you know, the teams that have one loss, including us, when we did, I don't know if the schedule was favorable to us or not. You know, I would say that we have tougher games coming than we had then on paper. But I don't know what Michigan had. I don't know what Illinois had. I don't know what Purdue had. Nobody expects any of the top teams to lose at home. Would you agree with that? So who lost at home? Illinois lost at home to Nebraska. Purdue lost at home to Illinois. Nebraska lost at home to Illinois. We lost at home to Michigan. Michigan lost at home to Wisconsin. So you guys should, if I was a writer, I'd be having a field day. You know, I wouldn't be worrying about handshakes or this or that. I'd be worrying about how the schedule looks and the phenomenon of all the top teams already losing a game at home halfway through the season. So I'm helping you. I like you. I'm helping you. No, what did he say about her? My mom is famous, man. My mom's the only person.
He said Humrick House last year would not have been your mom would have gotten 20 on you.
My mom's a hell of a player. I'll tell you that right now, man. She's great, but that's because we all said that. We all say that to a player. It's just that it all gets public notice now. That happened. I mean, oh my God! When I think of what Judd said.